So next in our programme is Marcus Lutyens. Marcus and I have worked together since actually the birth of cognitive sensations. We've had many conversations about our shared interests of the senses. And today he will be talking about our collaborative project, the new Herulians, and his relevant practice in emotional and psychological experience. So yeah, I welcome Marcus to present.
Hi, hopefully you can hear me. Hi, Gabriella. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. And I've had some great collaborations going on with Gabriella, and I think they're kind of in process and emerging. So what I'm going to do is share a few slides. Some are more technologically derived and some are more analog, but I think they both feed into each other. So I'm just going to share my screen. And let's see, view, present. So I'm very interested in the unconscious and in consciousness and synesthesia. And this is a chart I developed based on the kind of psychological association between color and moods, and it's derived from a wheel called the Plutchnik wheel. And in my particular case, what I did was I extended the emotion color interface to include smell, which you can see on the outside, such as like rage is connected to cardamom and cinnamon and cypress and pepper. And also to sound, you can see some notes, for instance, C sharp is connected to red. So I'm very interested in this. I've collaborated a lot with Richard Saitowick, who's the kind of considered to be the father of synesthesia. For those of you who may not know what synesthesia is, it's the kind of, it's from Latin, syn, aesthesia means the senses, so it's the kind of synchronicity of the senses, the joining of the senses. I just wanted to throw in a quick video of a project I did when I was trying to see what the relationship perhaps between social media and emotions were, again, kind of following this idea of how color, but also image influences mood. This is a project called Social Pharmacon, which I showed in Italy about 4 years ago. And I was just interested in a very kind of basic kind of interface that was slightly digital and slightly analog, and creating this a kind of tracking experience of what was happening when I was looking at social media and how it affected me. So it kind of relates to the last presentation about how all these experiences kind of flow through you and what happens, what's going on. So this is a very primitive kind of interface, but trying to track what happens with when you're experiencing these. I'm just forward winding a little bit. But I made it's basically a drawing interface, and rather than having an MRI or an fMRI in a big hospital that costs £1 million, I thought I would just create this very simple interface. And so when my mind was perturbed or excited by an image, the paper would shake more, and then when it was seeing an image that was more harmonious, and the little bot would move in kind of softer, smoother lines. There I am looking at all these images one after another for hours and hours. Let's see. Oops, sorry. So I just wanted to now talk about a project that Gabriella and I worked on. It's called the Semantic Survey Form. It was with Richard Saitowick, who would be great if you're interested in synesthesia, you could look up. He wrote many books. And what we were interested in doing in this particular case was, rather than looking at a screen, a social media screen, was touching different objects. The objects have different characteristics. Some are hard, some are smooth, some are heavy, some are spiky, some are soft. And what we did was we arrayed them in a gallery and had visitors come and put their hands in these black bags. And we also took a survey of what they felt with each different emotion and sensation there. So it's tracking certain things around us. I've also worked on projects with students and others where instead of feeling and touching existing objects, we kind of generate objects from the unconscious. I work a lot with hypnosis, actually, because I'm very interested in bypassing the kind of conscious interruptions that happen and seeing what's deeper in deeper levels of the mind. This is a project that I worked in Havana, and what I was interested in was teaching people to learn to touch and feel again with their feet. And I got a group of blind people there to help teach all sorts of different people how to re-experience things through their feet. This is kind of linking more into, those are obviously very analog approaches. I'm working now with some a stroke patient clinic in Germany. It's in an old bombed out, it's an old bomb factory actually in a place called near Göttingen, Lippelsberg, and it's in the forest, and there's a clinic that works with stroke patients. So they invited me to work with their patients to see if we could develop some therapies. This is a picture of visual neglect, which stroke patients suffer. And sometimes by working with people who have strokes, you can learn more about how the brain works. And this is basically, you could see the guy with the half-shaved beard. A lot of stroke patients have this thing called neglect, which is that they only are aware of one side of not just their body, but everything around them. This is a project I did in Italy, which was actually trying to reconnect both sides of the brain at the same time, working with the unconscious and drawing, automatic drawing. These are some sketches from the clinic. And I'm very interested in symmetry. And this is a cabin that I developed in Documenta in Germany, where I made everything symmetrical. There's no mirror on the floor, it's built into the ground. And I made a lot of hypnosis sessions down there, exploring consciousness. At the clinic, there's a lot of analog tests and examples of how stroke patients can engage with tactile experiences, which is pretty interesting, and color as well, you can see. And there's also lots of clinical tests that are quite dull in a way, very basic tests of, putting cubes together. In this particular case, you have to put all the white faces on the outside of a block. Just wanted to mention about technologies. We sometimes get carried away because digital technologies seem to be kind of the be all and end all of a lot of things. But in this particular case, on the right, you can see this mirror box, which was a process that was developed by Ramachandran for people with lost limbs and to help heal phantom limb syndrome. And so I've worked a lot with kind of working with people's expectations. The one on the left was at the Venice Biennial, where I worked with this idea of fear and reversing fear that's locked inside the body. Again, very analog. This is in the clinic again. You can see on the left, there's these kind of games that the stroke patients develop to move from side to side, and they track with their body different expressions. On the right, you can see a shaman from Mexico. There's also technologies that are to do with plant medicine. So that's also something to bear in mind. Here's an eye tracking device from the clinic. So you can see sometimes somebody with neglect would only look to the left side of the screen. You can encourage them to look at the other side. This is this is a kind of therapy device that I've been developing that includes symmetry, and it comes out of our cognitive sensations collaborations. And so that particular one that I was just showing is to do with touch and smell, and obviously very analog again. But what I'm trying to do at the clinic as well is develop a kind of interface where images are scraped from the web, and they're placed in different visual parts of the screen. And we're also going to include smell and taste and touch. And there's basically, it just invites you to look at different parts, and in the looking and the observation and the attention, different parts of your brain are being reinvigorated, so it can help heal stroke patients. And I just want to finish it up with where we're at with this project that we're working with Gabriella. It's called the New Herulians, and it's inspired by a special sphere, a very odd technology that was discovered in Greece at the Acropolis, and it's at the Acropolis Museum. And it's a very simple sphere. The Acropolis Museum is full of, sculpture and art. But I don't consider this piece to be anything to do necessarily with art, some art that you observe. It's more like a technology. It's a kind of randomizing process that people think was to do with some kind of divinatory system. So what we're interested in doing is bringing this kind of emotions, all the things that I've just shown into the city in a kind of interface that's a digital interface. We started the project in Athens in 2019, appropriately near where the original sphere is. And the idea is for people to go to different parts of the city and to be there's a very short quiz that they have on their cell phone that asks them to gauge different parts of kind of emotional engagement base. And that data is plugged into the app, and then some kind of visual images are produced, which what I talked about, the Plutchnik wheel at the beginning, and so what we want to do now is bring this project to Liverpool, and we will be exploring how the project works and perfecting the app, developing it with the feedback of students. So that's where we're at on those fronts.
Great, thank you so much, Marcus, for giving us this very deep but also snapshot into your work. It's really interesting listening to someone with such a analog practice who also thinks about technology so deeply. It's maybe one of the reasons why I've always been a fan of your work, because most people who know me, I'm a very analog person, even though my work is about the digital age.